Hello and welcome to our Art Splash podcast, where we have open and playful and also meaningful and thought-provoking conversations about art, creativity, life and spirituality. Hello, I'm Joy Fay.
Hi, and I'm Eve Marie Whitson-Jones, and welcome to our Art Splash podcast, number 6.
No, it's number 7.
Number 7. Oh my gosh, I'm losing track. Okay.
Whoa, yeah. I mean, 7th week. That's quite amazing.
Magic
We've got
number
this
7.
far.
Yes, wonderful. Wow.
Yeah. So, what are we talking about today, Eve?
Well, I think we wanted to keep carrying on a little bit on the idea of following your dreams, and I think we were going to talk specifically about, what are you waiting for? If not now, when are you going to do it? And,
Okay.
thinking about, what is it that holds us back?
Yeah, and I've been thinking about that a lot this week. And it's a really interesting thing to think about because what does hold you back?
Right.
What does hold me back? What does hold you back? Or, the listeners, what is it that stops us from actually, going for it?
Yeah.
And I guess at the end of the day, it's fear.
I was just going to say the same thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And fear of stepping out of the box, and fear of the unknown, fear of not feeling confident about it. So I was sort of thinking about all these things, and then I was thinking, well, unless you try, you'll never know.
Yeah.
And I think the never know bit is the fearful bit, because then you'd have a regret.
Yes.
If I don't try it, I won't know. And so it's only in the trying. And I feel that, when I look at, in the past, when I used to do a lot of coaching and things and reading a lot of those kind of books, the wonderful one, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, that unless we kind of take ourselves to that space, it stays as a tension. It's a strange feeling. And another kind of, I think, important point is it can then turn into procrastination.
It's eternal procrastination.
Yes, yeah. And I feel I've done too many if onlys.
Yes.
Yeah. And I feel as if I'm at a stage in life and it's kind of catching up massively, rapidly.
Yeah.
I don't want to be an if only. I want to be, well, I've tried it and I didn't I succeeded or I didn't succeed. But anyway, the point that I was going to make before, it's not about necessarily succeeding, it's about doing it.
Right.
And even if it doesn't succeed like we wanted it to, it's an experience.
Yes.
And that makes us grow and makes us more aware and makes us more understanding of the situation.
Yes.
And I think, stepping out to try is really important.
Well, there are so many wonderful aspects to this, and I came up with this thing that I do to myself, that I ask myself. I ask myself this question when I'm not sure about what to do about something. Should I, shouldn't I? You're on the cusp, or you have a path that you could go down or not. I often ask myself, which decision would I regret the most, doing it or not doing it?
Not doing it. Yeah. Good question.
Yeah. And most often, not always, but quite often the answer is, I would regret not doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I do not want to have the what ifs, the regrets, the, oh, damn, I should have, I could have, I wish I had done,
Yeah.
And just do it. Just do it. And as you say, get to that point where you can move past that fear factor. And a lot of it has to do with confidence and trust in your ability to survive you know, what it is that might happen at the end if it doesn't work out. You know, what if something doesn't really turn out the way you want? Then
Well,
what do you do?
yeah. Well, it's kind of a funny thing, that, because I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
Exactly. That's another wonderful
You
question to
know,
ask yourself. What is the worst
yeah,
that could happen? Are you going to
yeah.
die?
Well,
Probably not.
probably not.
Is someone else going to die, or are you going to hurt? You know, it's always, I think it comes down to the fundamental of your individual survival, you know, life and death and health, and someone else's well-being as well. You know, you don't want to harm anybody else or
No.
anything else. So if those two things are okay, so then what else are you afraid of? You know, and just keep peeling back the layers of that fear and keep bringing it down to the level of, well, what is it you really are afraid of? And just dealing with it and you know, kind of resolving that in your mind as, well, you know, actually no.
I think the main fear is of making a fool of yourself. You know, and what would be the right way of putting that? Okay, one of my fears is doing live YouTube videos.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of makes me nervous. I don't get nervous about many things, but I kind of do, because so many things could potentially go wrong.
Yeah, right.
And I could make a real mess of it and get into a complete 2 and 6. So I've written okay, so this is an interesting process. If you have the fear, how do you conquer it? So I've been kind of thinking this. So what I've done is given myself a list of questions of what I want to discuss in the live video.
Yeah.
And so if I get stuck on one, I can easily move to the next one.
Right.
So I've given myself a prompt. So I'm going to try it out.
So you're preparing in advance.
I'm preparing it in advance. Yeah. I mean, I haven't got yet the confidence just to go, you know,
spontaneously
zooming in. But I'm going to sort of go slowly but surely and try it. And then the other fear is that, okay, YouTube is evergreen. So even if somebody doesn't watch it when I'm live, they can watch it at another time. But then the other, you know, fear is, well, nobody's going to listen.
Okay.
And then the mind goes, so what's the point? So don't do it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of, you find your own rabbit holes for excuses for not doing whatever it is. So
what if you did what would happen if you did make a fool of yourself? What would be the consequence of that?
Well, I suppose, I don't know. I think you can just go and delete the video.
Well, okay. So that's one option. You don't have to publish it. You can just get rid of it. No, but I mean, within the context of what you're trying to do, you know, if somebody watched you or you saw yourself later and you went, oh my God, you know, how ridiculous I looked or how I sounded or what a stupid thing to say. So what's the outcome of that? Is it your fear of judgment?
Yeah, it's going back to what I said before, that fear of a perception of what one feels, you know, you want people to think of you.
Okay, and how?
I mean, it's all that stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. Sorry, this is turning into a therapy session. No, but these are really important questions.
Visualize yourself doing this fantastic well.
No, but I think it's so relevant to all of us, because, you know, that is kind of the first reaction that we often have. Oh, what if I make a fool of myself? Or what if someone thinks that I'm stupid, or, you know, whatever. And then, okay, so what, you know, then what?
Yeah, but that's the point. That's the point, is that there's some kind of dial that can tend to go on in our head.
Yeah.
That puts a tremendous amount of importance on that perception, because generally speaking, mostly people want to be seen as being, you know, nice
Yeah,
and
intelligent,
and
you know, have
knowing
something.
what they're doing and
That's right.
confident, you know, which, you know, all of us are nice sometimes and all of us are horrible at others.
Yeah, we're
But we don't
human.
want people to see the horribleness.
Yeah. I think it's also, you know, if you, again, you know, try to peel back that layer and you ask yourself, so, I mean, you can't please everybody all the time, right? We know
No.
that, you know, there are going to be people who like you and people who don't like you for
Yeah,
whatever
absolutely.
reason. And just as that you don't like everyone, you know, you have people that you resonate with and people that you don't, you know, and sometimes it's just immediate. You don't even know why. You just have this, you know, feeling of connection or lack of connection with someone.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, to remove the judgment away from that or the fear of that, and just accept that the people that, you know, are going to, you know, like you are going to like you regardless of whether you make a fool of yourself or not.
Or not.
Perhaps.
Yes. Well, yeah, we hope that's the case.
Yeah.
So that's kind of with that side of it. And I think, you know, if we bring it back to say art, whether it's, you know, painting or whatever, and we have a feeling that we want to do something with our painting that might be different, but, you know, we're frightened of diving in and then making a complete mess.
Yeah.
And I think, again, it interests me that you know, when people put their paintings up on Facebook, for example, you know, quite a few people say I've done this and I'm really pleased with it, and equally there's quite a few people that say I've done this but I think it's a mess, and what's your opinion and what can I do to make it better, and all those kind of things. Well, you know, one can give good critique, but there's often a feeling, and I can feel this myself, that for some reason it's not good enough.
Yeah.
And that then stops us moving forward. Sometimes I want to do something crazy on a painting.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you can see behind me. I've got a really big canvas behind me that I'm starting to work on. And I want to do something really bold and crazy on it because I feel I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
Which might be very different to what I normally do. But there's always a fear to step out of your comfort zone, to go and do something that you haven't done before. And that doesn't just apply to art.
No,
it applies to everything.
Right.
And then I would say, you know, if we go to if not now, when, what is it that you feel really passionate about, you're not doing?
Yes, exactly. And why?
And why?
Yeah.
So I think for me, mostly I'm getting there.
You're pushing
breaking
yourself.
the wall down.
Yeah.
There are some things that I'm still hesitant about, but mostly I'm pushing forward. But it's interesting because I spend quite a lot of time on thinking about it.
Don't you find as you're aging, sorry, no, that's not the right word, as we're maturing.
Yeah.
and you start to, these sort of barriers eventually crumble more easily. You find yourself being willing to do things a little bit more easily than maybe you would have 10 years ago. You know, you're willing to take the risk because it is the if not now when question, isn't it? It's like, okay,
yeah,
what have I got to lose now? You know, what if I do something that's not nice, that's not appreciated? Who cares? Because, you know, you've got other things that you've done that you are very proud of. And you know, I mean, I'm sure Picasso has or produced loads and loads of things that he himself didn't really like, and weren't, you know, largely appreciated by his audience, if you like. But then there's all this other stuff that he did that, you know, it's like, wow, right? So those little other things that may or not have been successes fade into the background, like no one really pays attention to them. Do you think?
Yes, I do. I do think. I think that I think how would I frame that in my mind? I think if we're being true to ourselves, and really looking at it hard, and I think that's quite a hard thing to do,
Yeah,
at the end of the day.
yeah, of course.
And what decisions we're making now that are different from the decisions we've made before, and are we just settling for what we've got and saying, well, that's it now, I've done that.
Right.
And I think that's one of the challenges with many people retiring. If they haven't got something already sort of set up for them to be involved with and have a purpose with, then it leaves a void of,
Right.
well, what do I do? What do I do?
Yeah. How many people do we know or have heard about who once they retire, they just go into a decline, mentally and physically, because they've lost their sense of purpose, haven't they? They have no other sense of purpose. Yeah.
And I would say the majority of my students, both when I was teaching workshops and classes every week, and now even online, the majority of my students are 55 plus.
Right.
Even more than that, 65 plus, which is obviously in the retirement bracket.
Yeah.
And it's fabulous that we find something to give us a lot of pleasure and joy, and something to focus on and to have a purpose. And that's why I'm such a great advocate for painting, because it gives us so much more and fills the void and gives us something new to explore and have an adventure with. And I that part of me really is happy about that, because I see the results.
Absolutely. And one of the questions that I was listening to a really interesting webinar this morning about how do you whatever it is that you're doing, your business, if you like, and your business is art education, you would say, I guess, teaching art. My business is coaching. And how there are people that will seek you out and seek me out because they know that they want to learn about art, or in my case they want to deal or get help with a particular issue, and they're struggling and they're feeling blocked or whatever. But there are those people that really don't even know that they have a problem, that they're you're sort of solving a problem for someone, aren't you? In a way, you're solving a need, you're addressing a need for someone to learn how to paint. They have this desire, they have this thing that it's like, oh yeah, I'd really like to learn how to paint. Oh, look, there's Joy, she's got these wonderful courses and this wonderful community, and look how many lovely things I can learn from her, and blah blah blah. Right.
Well, we hope.
Well, I mean, yes, definitely. And in my case, someone might be aware of the fact that they're struggling with something, either in their career or in their relationships or whatever it might be, and they might find me and reach out and say, can you help me? But then there's lots of people who don't even realize that they have this problem. So how do we get to them? How do we sort of present or introduce your service, my service, to those people and say, hey, hi, we're here to help you?
Well, I don't think we can, actually. I think everyone will come to their own decision. I mean, when a lot of people have talked to me and I said, why are you doing this? And they've said, well, I've retired, or I've got divorced, or my partner's died, or I've had a health issue, or whatever it might be. And maybe they might say somebody suggested that I start painting.
Right, exactly.
In your case, somebody suggested that you have a chat with somebody.
Right.
and get some feedback and be able to talk about the challenges.
Yes.
So you know, people will just come to it naturally. They find us, or you know, other people who are doing the similar thing. You know, only the people that are listening to this are people who are already interested.
Right, exactly.
And it might be that, you know, those of you who are here might have a friend who said, you know what, they would really benefit from listening to this.
Well, that's where I was going to go next, which is, you know, having people communicate and spread the word, you know, a little bit is really fundamental. And it's not because it's a good marketing strategy. I think it's simply us helping other people help other people, you know, and I think it's
absolutely.
Sort of and spread the word, spread the joy, you know, and just tell more people, because you're helping them, you know, and then when you help them, they help others. And I think this is what I think is missing in our society a lot, is that the benefit that you get just individually, you know, within yourself, of helping others, you know, even if it's a small, tiny little thing, you know, holding the door open for someone, carrying someone's shopping bag, and or smiling at them and saying good morning when you pass them on the street. I think we don't recognize how valuable that is to both, you know, to you as the person who's giving, and to that person who, you know, has the benefit of receiving.
And it's a very interesting thing living here in Spain, and obviously I've been here a long time. One of the things that always fascinates me is whenever you go into a shop, or even if you're standing in the queue in the supermarket, 9 times out of 10, people will say hello. Hola.
Yeah.
You know, they'll come into a shop, hola.
Yeah.
And, you know, the other people, strangers, hola.
Yes.
You'd never find that in England.
No, I know. And this was some of the things.
I don't know about the States, but I had never experienced that, because you kind of go, you know, who's that?
What's wrong with them? Oh. Yeah, I know. I noticed that when I moved to Portugal, you walk into like a waiting room for, you know, at the doctor's office or at the bank. Some stranger walks in, there's a room full of people, and she says, hello, good morning. And everybody turns around and says, hello, good morning. They have no idea who they are, but it doesn't matter. You know? I think it's wonderful.
I think it's fantastic, because it gives you it immediately gives you an intro to have a conversation.
Exactly. And you're making that connection, you know, even if it's, you know, you never spoke to that other person in your life again. But anyway.
So perhaps we should be doing this in Spanish and Portuguese.
Okay.
No, don't think so. but you know, going back to the point, which is an interesting discussion of making the next step, and how would you do that? What's the strategy? What I feel is really helpful is to write down the things that you'd really love to do. I mean, you know, we were talking a little bit about this last week, about your bucket list. Because that kind of comes into the frame, all the things that you'd love to do that you've not done yet. And it doesn't necessarily mean going to an ashram or in India, or, you know, sitting on top of a mountain in South America. I'm talking about, you know, well, great if you want to do that, that's fantastic. But I'm talking about, you know, things that you have had in your mind that you think, oh, one day I'd love to do that.
Right.
And I have lists of those things, of my wish list, and things that I'd love to do. And I write that down, and then maybe, you know, it's an interesting thing to do, to say, why haven't I done it yet? Or what's holding me back from doing that? And if I want to do it, what do I need to do in order to do it?
Right. Yes.
So you start sowing a seed. And I think that's really important, because, you know, sometimes, and I think it happens actually quite often, when you start thinking about something and you sow that seed, the universe miraculously,
it's true,
somehow comes in and presents you with an opportunity.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it?
It's amazing
Yeah.
how many times that's happened to me. Go, oh wow, I
Yeah.
was thinking about that, written it down, forgotten about it, and
Yeah.
then suddenly something is there to
Yeah.
provide you the means whereby.
Right. Right.
But I think rather than it saying just a cloud in your head,
Mm.
is to converge it,
Right.
write it down, have a
Yeah.
kind of, if you like, a dream book or a what I'd love to do book,
Yeah.
and write some of those things down and start thinking about what you'd need to do in order to do that.
Yes. Yes.
And that takes you on an adventure.
Right.
And even just with YouTube, whatever you wanted to do on YouTube, you can go and put it in.
Yeah, I
How
know.
do you
Yeah.
want to do this?
How did we survive? How did we survive it
How
without
do we
YouTube?
survive without YouTube?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anything from cooking pasta to climbing Mount Everest, it's everything. And which is wonderful. I
Yeah.
mean, how amazing is that? I was looking yesterday. I want to do some frames for my paintings for this
Okay.
exhibition in October. And I want to do like floating frames, and I'm wondering whether or not I can make them myself. So there it was. I don't know. I could choose from 25 videos of
Yes, I
how I
know.
make a floating frame.
Yeah.
So I think it's really, rather than it just stay as a hazy
Hmm.
and wish and get to it.
Well,
Write it down.
there's another interesting aspect of that. And I had this really interesting conversation with a young man yesterday. He has it in his head, and I'm not trying to make it sound like it's not a valuable thought, but he really strongly believes that he wants to win the lottery, or he's going to win the lottery. He has this really strong conviction. And I kept asking him, so why do you want to win the lottery? What's important about winning the lottery? Obviously you get lots of money. Is it the money that you want? No, it's what he's going to do with the money. And so we kept drilling it down to, well, what is it you want to do with that money? And then he came up with this whole list of things that he wants to do. And a lot of it involves helping people. He wants to set up a community. He wants to, help people who have financial difficulties. So that was kind of like, but that's what you want. It's not the lottery. It's what the lottery is going to give you or allow you to do.
Yeah.
Right. And focusing on those, because sometimes you can achieve those things without necessarily winning the lottery.
I was just going to say exactly that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really key point, because sometimes you have this idea that I need a lot of money to be able to do this,
right?
When it actually turns out, if you write it down and you see, do I need money for that? No. He could set up a community by just inviting people to a group and having tea, coffee, discussion, whatever.
Yes.
And so on and so on and so on. Actually, you don't need a lot of money to do quite a lot of things.
Yes.
Because actually, in the doing of them, just doing them, the money comes anyway.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of such an interesting
we've got it backwards, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
And I find that sort of really fascinating, of the excuse that we need the money stops us from actually doing anything about it.
or trying to get what the money's going to give you in some other way, finding or opening up the possibility that, okay, I want to, climb Mount Everest and I need money to do that. Okay, well, maybe that's true, but maybe there is an opportunity to find a way to become involved with that, as a volunteer. I don't know. I'm making all this up. I have no idea. You know what I mean?
But I think it's amazing when you actually clarify.
Exactly.
I think it's the clarification that is the important thing. When you get clear about something, and a way to get clear about something is to write it down.
True, yeah.
Even if you write it down in a confused way, you're getting clear that you're confused.
Yes.
And therefore you've got the opportunity to deconfuse yourself.
Right. And
whereas if it
sorry, I was going to say, I think the one of the other key things behind it is, why do you want to do this? You know, the why question, right? We were talking about last week. Is it because it's going to give something to you that you feel like you need or you want? Or is it going to give something to somebody else, or both? Or, you know, there's a benefit to it at some point in time, or at some, you know, and what is that benefit and why? You know, how is it going to benefit you or benefit somebody else? So that's to me, that's part of the goal, or the reason for writing it down, is to get that clarity on the why.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I feel that, you know, at our age, the opportunities that we've got are absolutely astounding. You know, we can do so many things. We've got so many opportunities if we keep our mind open and say, you know, especially, you know, I mean, I wish I had time on my hands. I don't. But if I was in a position where I did, there's so many things that I would really, really, really love to do. And hopefully one day I will do those things. But it's you know, some people dread retirement and wonder what on earth they're going to do. And not only that, is that, you know, especially I've heard this so many times with couples, you know, that they haven't spent very much time together over the last 30 or 40 years because, you know, they've been working, and suddenly they're together under the same roof 24/7.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm not nearly wanting to kill each other. So it's kind of vitally important to find your own thing to do,
right,
that's going to give you a purpose,
and
a
in a couple,
a
you can find
reason
it
to get up in the morning and do something that's, you know, going to give you satisfaction and happiness.
Right.
And, you know, that could be anything. And fortunately for me, I've met a lot of people who've taken up painting in order to have that. But you know, I had one student, and she's lovely. Unfortunately, she lives a long way away now, but she got massively into gardening, and joined a gardening society, and then she had a thing about painting flowers and plants. The whole thing came together for her. And you know, she used to say to me, you know, Jo, I never ever in a million years thought I'd be doing this.
Right. Yes.
You know, she'd had quite a high powered business career, and here she was, you know, fiddling around in the garden and doing you know, paintings
and having the time of her life.
Yes, it was giving her a real thrill. So I feel that rather than think that you're too old to start or it's too late, it's not. It's absolutely the right time to start. Because
I'm going to do something this evening I've never done in my entire life. I'm going to go on a motorbike.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right. How have you arranged this? Have you got a nice motorbike man?
Well, I have a friend who just recently bought a motorbike, and he's going to take me for a little ride tonight on the back. Obviously, I'm not going to drive it myself, but I've never, for whatever reason, it's never happened in my life that I had an occasion to get on the back of a motorbike. So today's the day, or tonight's
the
day. So
fantastic.
I'm scared. I'm so scared, you know, because I really don't want to fall, and I really don't want to hurt myself, or, you know, worse. But I'm going to do it anyway. And I think that, you know, I'm sure at the end of it, it's going to be, I'm going to go, wow, why didn't I do this before?
Oh, brilliant. Oh, that sounds really exciting.
I shall tell you all about it next week.
Yeah. I had oh God, how many years ago? I don't know, a few years ago, or a lot more than a few years, a boyfriend who had a motorbike. And I had been on a bike when I was a child, my uncle had a motorbike, and I remember, I don't know how old I was young, 7 or 8, and I remember going on this motorbike.
Yeah.
And he went really fast, and he really terrified the life out of me. So I'd had a thing about never going on a bike again.
Right. Yeah.
And then I had this guy I was seeing for a little while, and he had a bike, and he said, "Come on, try it."
Yes.
And we did, and we actually went on the motorway on the freeway.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I got a buzz from it.
There you go.
Although I was terrified, it really felt quite amazing.
Yeah.
But I'm not something to be doing every day, but I have to say I did get a buzz.
Well, this is the flip side of fear, right? Is when you do it and you're afraid of doing it, but you do it anyway. It's that adrenaline rush, right?
Yeah.
From a neurochemical point of view, it really, really kind of makes you feel alive and thankful you survived it at the end.
I'm still alive. I had that on for a few occasions, and a bungee jump that I did.
Oh my God.
Oh dear God.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was like, I can't remember. I was young. Anyway, I did this bungee jump, and as I thought, well, if I'm going to die, I'm going to do it very elegantly. So I kind of put my arms out like a bird. I'm going, okay, here I come. And you go, wow!
Open the gates, God, here I come.
Back up again.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm still here.
Good for you.
Oh dear. So we've got to kind of bungee jump into new adventures.
Yep. Get on the back of the
go
bike.
for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Come hell bent for
And
later.
so I think, the takeout of this is, what is it that you would really love to do that you haven't done?
Right.
And make a plan.
Yeah.
Write it down to start with, and then see what steps you have to make in order to be able to achieve it.
And visualize what it's going to feel like once you've done it. Have that feeling of imagining, okay, when you've done it, how is it going to feel? And that emotion will inspire you and move you towards doing it.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be a huge big thing.
No.
It can be a very small thing. I mean, in relationship to painting, it could be, I'd love to have an exhibition.
That's pretty big, I think, for me, I would say.
Yeah. So, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
And I could ask the local cafe if they could put some pictures up in there before I do, a solo exhibition. You can start off kind of really slowly, but I don't know what else. I'd like to change from acrylics to oil. I'd like to find out how oil paints work.
Right. Yeah.
Right. I'd like to do something in watercolor, but I don't know what to do. Well, I'll tell you what, there's 1,000,001 videos of how to help you and show you how to use watercolors.
Right. Or do portrait paintings as opposed to
do a self-portrait.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So, even those kind of small things, just do it.
Just step outside of your comfort zone, as you said. Yes.
Yeah. So, it's kind of it's exciting when you think about it. I think, getting older, it has its drawbacks, particularly physically.
Yeah.
But from a mindset point of view, I think it can be extremely exciting.
I think if people are open to it, unfortunately, there are people who tend to close themselves down more and more as they get older, more fearful, more insecure. But I think that the opposite is what really needs to happen, or what's good for you, what would be good for you. And I think we need to inspire and motivate people to feel that sense of, it's okay. It's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. Really, try it. You'll like it.
Yeah. And I mean, we seriously do have a deadline.
Well, that's unfortunately true. Yeah, there is an end point to all of this. Yeah.
Yes.
I know. Well, we would love to hear from you. If you've done something that you found was scary, but you did it anyway, please tell us about your
Yeah, that would be great.
Experience, or if there's something you'd like to do but you're afraid of doing, please let us know, and maybe we can find a way to help you out of it in some way. So yeah, lovely.
Yeah, fantastic. So yeah, interesting food for thought today.
Definitely.
And go for it. I mean, what have we got to lose, really?
Nothing very much that I think we can't afford to lose. Let's put it this way.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
So you got your website up and running now, which is fantastic.
Yep.
And your Facebook group, and I've got all my various things.
Yeah.
So we'll put all the links below.
Should we talk about maybe our guest that's coming next week, just briefly?
Oh yeah. Is it next week?
Yeah, it's our next podcast.
Is it 2 weeks? Oh.
Oh gosh, you're right. It is in 2 weeks. Well, anyway, now that I've let the cat out of the bag a little bit, we've invited a very interesting artist. His name is Chris Miller, and he's written a book called The Spiritual Artist. And he also has a podcast and a YouTube channel. And so he's going to be our guest when we do the podcast in a couple of weeks, and we're going to talk to him about his book and his process, his philosophy. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay.
So if you enjoyed, do give us the thumbs up. That would be fantastic. And, share it with friends if you think that they would find it helpful. And subscribe if you want more.
Yes.
Which would be great. So thank you so much for listening. Thanks, Eve, for a good conversation this morning. Really enjoyed.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a fun subject. We're going to go off and have a week of, well, I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah, I got to get myself psyched up for the motorbike ride tonight.
Yes. Yeah. Well, have fun.
Okay.
All righty. Take care. Have a good week. See you next week. Bye.